Good morning, everyone. We discussed what we're going to cover in the training. Um, so, so in the training, and can I have this full screen? Okay. So we will be discussing the aspects 3 and 4 today. We talked about instructional design. We talked about how do we adapt teaching resources to learners' needs. So we'll start off with the e-learning tools. And like yesterday, e-learning tools is something that Ms. Maheen Zara is actually very familiar with and has been working on these in her various trainings as well. So she's going to take over the e-learning aspects of things, and then we'll talk about how do we engage students in virtual classrooms. Okay, so I'll ask Maheen to begin now.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm audible to every one of you.
Walaikum salam.
Okay. Today we are going to, experience and explore e-learning tools, how to make use of tech-based tools in your classroom. So I will make sure that as much as we can do, we will go for the hands-on experience and we'll explore a couple of tools, but definitely because of the time, we cannot do all of them. So I'll give you a brief introduction about rest of the tools verbally. और एक या दो tools हैं जिनको we will explore as well. ठीक है? Before going into the details of edtech tools and e-learnings, we need to clear our very basic concept that what e-learning actually is. So when we talk about e-learning, it's not any learning. Usually what people think is that e-learning is something which is associated with distance learning or something where there is not a there's not a proper learning environment happening जहाँ पे आपके students and your teachers are not sitting in the same room or they're not present physically. Yes, that also comes under the category of e-learning, but e-learning specifically is not only bound to distance learning. It includes all sort of learnings that involve using any of the electronic devices or using internet as a medium of learning. So basically, whenever there is a laptop, there is a phone, or there is a tech-based device involved in the process of learning, that is the process which is known as e-learning. There are different edtech tools which are used, and there are different methods to use them, but every edtech tool has a different speciality. Some of the edtech tools are used for design instruction, some of them are used for student engagement. Some of the tools are there which are specifically designed for formative and summative assessments and enhance the learning process. But all a teacher or a facilitator needs to know is that at what time which tool do they need to use. And this is like once you get used to using the tools, it's very easy. And then the thing that we always talk about, there is the 4C skills, the 4C development of the students, that is creativity, collaboration, communication, critical thinking. So with the mainstream education and the mainstream way of delivering the lectures, that is quite not like that's not possible, I would say, to experience all these things. Probably we can experience collaboration, we can experience some of the things, but not all of them. So for critical thinking, creativity, these tech-based tools help student a lot. They give them a way forward how to move ahead with that. Moving on, I incorporated a mode of e-learning with a model presented for e-learning, which was SAMR model. I don't know how much of you know about it, but basically this model gives you a map or a roadmap for changing your conventional learning into e-learning. How can you use technology? How can you replace your day-to-day lectures with technology? So basically there are 4 stages of SAMR. The first one is substitution, and then augmentation, modification, and redefinition. Substitution is basically the most basic and the first most part of SAMR model, where you simply substitute anything which you are doing in the conventional method, you're just going to substitute that with technology. For instance, इसकी बहुत simple मिसाल हम अपने classrooms में से ये ले सकते हैं कि initially high school तक students they write assignments using paper pen. वो hand based या hand written assignments देते हैं. The moment we come to universities, usually we are supposed to submit the assignments, or it's preferred that if we submit assignments which are computer processed typed, तो वो जो बिल्कुल पहला स्टेप है ना जिसमें आपने पेन और पेपर को खत्म करके उनको एक डिवाइस के साथ एसोसिएट कर दिया हुआ है, that is substitution. You're substituting the hands-on thing with something new. Then we have augmentation. Augmentation is where technologies that replace other tools add new functionality. Can anybody give me an example of augmentation from your everyday life? जिस तरह अगर हम उसको change कर सकते हैं, assignments को handwritten से computer process पे ले आए हैं, तो can you just tell me what would be the example of augmentation? कोई random guess, कुछ थोड़ा सा. ऑगमेंटेशन में ये हो रहा है कि ऑगमेंटेशन में सिर्फ आप सब्स्टिट्यूट नहीं कर रहे, आप थोड़े से फंक्शंस भी एनहांस कर रहे हैं, थोड़ी और चीजें भी ऐड कर रहे हैं. सो कैन यू जस्ट लाइक कम अप विद एनी आइडिया? अपनी क्लासरूम को थोड़ा सा ज़हन में रख के एक सेकंड के लिए सोचें. प्रोबेबली you'll have lots and lots of ideas. No? Okay, so basically when we are using PowerPoint, जिसमें हम videos add कर लेते हैं, video links add कर लेते हैं, audios add कर लेते हैं, pictures, so all of these things are additional information, addition to the simple. एक आपने अगर simple Microsoft Word पे या even using pen and paper आपने एक assignment type लिखनी है या type करनी है, that's all words. But now what you're doing is you are using pictures, you're using audio, so you're augmenting it. ठीक है, तो ये दूसरा stage होता है. The third one is modification. Digital tools that replace other tools and add new functionality that also affects learning in a significant way. Modification में ये होता है कि आप अपना पूरा जो learning process होता है ना उसको change कर देते हैं, modify कर देते हैं. ठीक है, now you're not using anything which is from the conventional way of pedagogy, from the जो शुरू से आपका, even for if we talk about lectures, so you're not giving it being present in person in the classroom and you're using Microsoft Teams या Zoom या Google Classroom, ये वाली सारी जब आप पूरी tech based tools ले आएंगे और उसको सारा रिप्लेस कर देंगे, दैट इज मॉडिफिकेशन. मॉडिफिकेशन क्या होती है? इवन व्हेन वी मॉडिफाई कार्ड्स, तो आप उसको अपग्रेड कर देते हैं, आप उसको मॉडिफाई कर देते हैं, चेंज कर देते हैं बिल्कुल एग्जिस्टिंग कंडीशंस से. ठीक है, एंड देन द रीडेफिनेशन इज द लास्ट स्टेज वेयर डिजिटल इमर्सिव एनवायरनमेंट्स दैट चेंज फंडामेंटल रिलेशनशिप एंड पोज कॉग्निटिव एंड समटाइम्स एथिकल चैलेंजेस. अब इसमें ये होता है कि आपने पूरा सिस्टम ऑफ एजुकेशन बदल दिया है. इट्स ऑल इफ यू talking about education only, so आपका teaching learning का your pedagogy is changed from conventional pedagogy to e-pedagogy. All that you're doing, आपका instructional design बन रहा है तो वो edtech tools हो रहे हैं, आपका content बन रहा है for day-to-day classes, that is with the help of edtech tools, and even the delivery of the content is with the help of educational technology. So that is the state where it comes for redefinition. ठीक है, I hope it's clear. This is a very generic example कि how can SMR model and iPad से अगर हम उसको देखें तो किस किस तरह से substitutions आई हैं, changes आई हैं, substitution, augmentation, modification में. Substitution की example हमारे पास ये है कि the iPad is a direct substitution with no functional change. अब instead of using एक actual geoboard to investigate fractions and shapes, अब क्या होता है कि आप ऐसी iPad पे उसका geoboard यूज करके ये ऐसी activities plan कर लेते हैं, इस किस्म की exercises कर लेते हैं, that rather than doing it on an actual geoboard और paper pencil पे draw करके fractions निकालने की बजाय you're doing it with the help of tech based device. ये होता है basic level of substitution. Second level पे क्या होता है, using interactive games that enhance learning such as motion maths to explore fraction. अब गेम डिज़ाइन या गेम लर्निंग वाले जो होंगे आप में से रेलेवेंट लोग वो इस चीज़ को समझ सकते हैं कि बहुत सारी चीज़ें इवन व्हेन वी टीच देम विद द हेल्प ऑफ गेमिंग और सिमुलेशंस, सो दैट इज़ फार ईजियर एंड दैट इज़ मोर कन्वीनियंट और वो बहुत जल्दी से उनको समझ आती हैं चीज़ें. सो अब वहाँ पे आपने क्या किया है कि आपने उसको ऑगमेंट कर दिया है, क्योंकि अगर आप सिंपली कोई मैथ्स के फ्रैक्शन समझा रहे हैं तो what you can do is all you can solve the fraction and tell them, rather than that you are adding any sort of animation या उसमें आप थोड़ी सी वॉइस ओवर्स डाल देंगे, थोड़ी सी वीडियोस डाल देंगे तो वो एक इंटरैक्टिव भी हो जाएगा. इट वॉन्ट बी द सेम डल बोरिंग मैथ्स लेक्चर दैट यूज्ड टू बी फॉर देम. मोर ओवर उससे लर्निंग एनहांसमेंट होगी डेफिनेटली. देन मॉडिफिकेशन के example mein we can see that students screen capture the shapes they made on the geoboard app and use them to create a screencast about their learning to share with others. There is an app which we call GeoGebra. I don't know how much are you guys familiar with that. So GeoGebra is kind of the same app जिसमें आपको जितनी भी your algebra, maths, physics के जितने भी आपके numericals होते हैं, questions होते हैं, वो आप you can just solve them और आप उनको draw कर सकते हैं. सारे options आपके पास होते हैं and you do not need to do that manually. वो सारी जो आपका manual process होता है वो बिल्कुल ख़त्म हो जाता है and all that you are doing is on a screen using that app. ठीक है, तो उसकी help से you can just complete the whole thing without even spending that much amount of time जितना आप initially उस पे करते हैं. You're doing that manually. And the last one is redefinition. Students work with students from around the world as they try to figure out how proximity to the equator affects average daily temperature and hours of sunlight. So basically यहाँ पे क्या चीज़ आती है, यहाँ पे the most important thing is your collaboration. What you're doing is that you're collaborating with people from different parts of the world. Whiteboard एक app है, एक tool है जिसपे you can collaborate with students and teachers and peers from all around the world. Or if you were working on something similar that someone else is working on the same thing, so what you do is you collaborate with one another और आप peer learning करते हैं. So basically वो जो एक पहला आपकी क्या कह सकते हैं उसको कि the thought that you had that you can only learn within your class and within your university या एक अपने उस confined से environment के अंदर, वो तो उस that is totally redefined because now you have a lot of opportunities and a lot of people to talk to and to learn with. So basically you want to start changing your pedagogical techniques. All you need to do is you need to do it step by step. अब अगर आप the reason that I have explained this in detail is कि अगर आप first day पे ही जाके, I know that a lot of our teachers and a lot of our students are not well familiarized with edtech tools क्योंकि ये चीज़ हमारे पास practice में ही नहीं है. ठीक है, अब मैं पहले दिन ही उठ के जाके अगर क्लास में रीडेफिनेशन वाले स्टेप पे काम करना शुरू कर दूंगी, so that will create a panic for students because first you need to familiarize them with the edtech tools. उनको पता हो कि how to use it, करना क्या है, किस तरह से करना है. easy step से basic substitution से start करें. I guess substitution तो we all are practicing in our classrooms. Augmentation करें, modification करें, and then comes the last point which is redefinition. What we do usually is we are so motivated and so charged. अगर हमें कहीं से कोई चीज़ पता चलती है तो हम direct jump करते हैं end वाले point पे, जिसकी वजह से हमें कोई खास रिजल्ट भी नहीं मिलता. एंड देन वी आर लाइक कि नहीं ये चीज़ इतनी हम कौन ज़्यादा देखना शुरू हो जाते हैं rather than the pros, and we are like no it's not effective blah blah blah. But that's not the case. It's basically how you need to use that, how you need to plan your lesson plans. अगर आप lesson planning कर रहे हैं अपनी class की, all of us we do that before our class. So you need to analyze that. First of all, ask a question to yourself that where am I standing right now, at what stage am I teaching my students, and at what mental capacities the students are right now. ठीक है, और उसके accordingly उससे एक step आगे चलेंगे आप, because learning curve जो होती है आपके students की वो आपने डिफाइन करनी होती है, बिकॉज स्टेप बाय स्टेप व्हेन यू विल मूव फॉरवर्ड आप अपने लेसन्स में उस तरह से चेंजेस लेके आएंगे, ओनली देन you'll be able to find okay fine, I've achieved this particular goal, or at least they are now using the tools. Moving on, my laptop is stuck. I just kept a question, and please, I want you guys to unmute your mics and let me know, where does your current teaching fit in SAMR model? Like, just a single word answer. Is it at substitution level? Is it at augmentation level, modification level? किस लेवल पे आपको लगता है कि आपकी टीचिंग अभी इस वक्त है?
Substitution, ma'am.
Okay, good.
Augmentation level.
Augmentation. Okay. Can you just
Augmented station.
augmentation, ठीक है. So majorly we are on augmentation level, ठीक है? ठीक है. So nobody has tried modification or redefinition अभी तक, right? Am I audible? आवाज आ रही है आप लोग को मेरी?
जी मैम.
Okay. So we have an activity. अब हम क्या करेंगे, हम इसी क्लास को थोड़ा सा मॉडिफाई करेंगे. थोड़ा सा मैं आप लोगों को I will introduce बॉक्स, वो भी मैं आपको बताती हूँ कि आपने उसको अटेम्प्ट किस तरह करना है. सो बेसिकली आपने ये सोचना है कि राइट नाउ एट व्हाट लेवल यू आर यूजिंग टेक्नोलॉजी, और इससे अगले स्टेप में जब आपने मॉडिफाई करना है तो आप उसको किस तरह से मॉडिफाई करेंगे. ठीक है. सो this is Padlet. ठीक है. How many of you are familiar with Padlet already?
फर्स्ट टाइम सुन रहे हैं.
अच्छा, ये एक बिल्कुल फ्री टूल है, बहुत इजी टूल है. मैं once you guys are done with posting your answers, तो उसके बाद अगर आप लोग चाहते हैं तो मैं आपको इस पे वो करना भी सिखा दूंगी कि how you create a wall or any sort of pad जिस पे आपने आंसर्स पोस्ट करवाने. The link here, आप लोग इस लिंक पे क्लिक करेंगे तो आपके पास ये वॉल खुलेगी. ठीक है. सो ऑल यू नीड टू डू इज डबल टैप एनीवेयर, किसी भी जगह पे, एंड इट विल ओपन दिस चैट बॉक्स फॉर यू, कमेंट बॉक्स फॉर यू. ठीक है. आपने अपना नाम लिखना है और अपनी रीजंस, अपना आंसर इस पे पोस्ट कर देना है. Later on, can you see this small icon on top of the page? This is basically, this indicates कि कितने लोग जो हैं वो इस टाइम इस Padlet पे काम कर रहे हैं, they're working on it. Once you publish your answer, all of your peers, all of your teachers, everyone जिसके पास भी ये link है, they'll be able to see your answer. There are different options. You can add picture in it, you can change colors. लेकिन इसमें ये होता है, even when you're doing it within your classrooms, तो आपके जो students होंगे, they will be able to reply to each other's comments as well. तो उसमें एक बड़ा collaborative सा communicative tool बन जाता है. बहुत easily students होते हैं वो एक दूसरे के साथ communicate कर लेते हैं using this tool. So I will give you 4-5 minutes. I'll be waiting. आप जो हैं वो इस पे अपनी existing state और उसको modify करके, for example, right now somebody said I'm at augmentation state. Just write down 1 or 2 liner reason कि किस तरह से आपको लगता है कि you're using technology at augmentation stage, और once you have to move to modification तो आपको क्या change लाना पड़ेगा. ठीक है. हरिया. I just want to make sure कि please अपना नाम ज़रूर लिखिएगा नीचे कि कौन comment post कर रहा है, because इस तरह से तो मुझे समझ नहीं आएगी कि आप लोगों में से कौन किसने ये comment लिखा है, and because later on I need to read them out all of them, और मुझे थोड़ा सा उसका analysis वगैरह करना होगा, so this is basically for that. तो आप please नाम ज़रूर लिखें.
In the meantime, could you please go back to the side जहाँ पे वो details हैं different stages की, ताकि हम उसको एक
Yes,
दफा फिर
yes,
से
yes,
पढ़ लें.
for sure. I guess I'll keep the example open because that will give you a better idea.
Ms. Maheen, I have a question.
Yes, please.
My question is that if I'm a language teacher and I kept on changing my strategies or my reading material, for example, sometimes I'm giving handouts, sometimes I'm using PowerPoint, audios, videos, documentaries. So in which category I'll fall? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, 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 I can.
Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible now.
Okay. So agrees. You need to develop their writing skill as well. You need to develop their speaking skill as well, and you need to
Yes.
develop their listening skill as well. So
Along with that,
basically
reading
what you
also, reading comprehension also,
yeah, reading
skills.
comprehension also. Basically for each one of that you're using a different strategy. That means you're modifying the whole concept of language learning. You're not
Right.
teaching something as an individual concept of language learning. So that will
Yes.
fall in the category of modification. Okay?
Yes, right. And my second question is the tool that you have shared, that is
Yeah.
is for the activity Padlet. How can we ensure that students are not writing anything that is not worth sharing while they're working in the class? How can we ensure that?
Okay. Yeah. So for that, while they are typing, you will not get to know. But once they have typed, you have the organizer has the right to delete that as well. If you think that there is
Right.
something which is not, inappropriate or something which is not right enough, so you can just delete that or you can edit that as well.
Because we have witnessed in online classes that rather listening as they start playing their own videos and
Yeah.
they start to screen.
That happens.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I have received a couple of answers. You can see them here. कुछ लोगों ने colors भी change किए हैं, which is good, nice. You want to expand it, वो भी कर सकते हैं. आप flag भी कर सकते हैं किसी post को. So these are all the options that you have. ठीक है? I guess I'm going to wait for 2 more minutes and then I'll move forward because मैंने एक दो tools हैं जिनका आपको tour करवाना है. They are very effective and I want you all to use that within your classrooms. Okay, so should we move ahead? Are we good to go? सबने I guess अगर आपने अभी तक post नहीं भी किया तो it's okay, you can keep on posting. वो is not a big deal. This will stay here as long as I do not delete the Padlet, I do not delete the wall, तो ये यहीं पे रहेगी. ठीक है? Here Teams notebook is better option. Yes, definitely Teams notebook is a very good option if you can use that. उसमें you can store your notes and lectures और वो भी एक अच्छा collaborative tool है. लेकिन इस तरह के जो tools होते हैं ना, इससे ये होता है कि थोड़ा सा एक ही होगा कि आपके student को आप सबसे बड़ा जो problem हमारा attention का आता है within the classroom के because like right now मेरा तो कैमरा ऑन है, आपका किसी का कैमरा ऑन नहीं है. I don't know if somebody is listening to me or not. आप क्या कर सकते हैं कि आप स्टूडेंट्स को in the start of the beginning of the lecture बता सकते हैं कि at any time I'm going to post a link and you have to comment on that and बिल्कुल minimum से कोई marks रख दें class participation के that these basically your Padlet links वाला जितने भी answers हैं they will be considered as your class participation. तो वो उसमें बहुत effective रहता है कि then you know they have this fear of not losing marks या थोड़ा सा एक नई चीज है कलर्स ऐड कर देते हैं बहुत डिफरेंट पैटर्न्स ऐड कर देते हैं तो थोड़ा इंटरैक्टिव थोड़ा अट्रैक्टिव भी लगता है. जी सारा दैट्स परफेक्टली फाइन इफ यू यूज माइक्रोसॉफ्ट नोटबुक. बेसिकली ऑप्शंस तो बहुत होती है हमारे पास. इट्स जस्ट कि हम थोड़ी सी वैरायटी डाइवर्सिटी देखेंगे ना कि डिफरेंट टूल्स हैं. दिस इज अ कंप्लीटली फ्री टूल. कोई इसकी सब्सक्रिप्शन वगैरह का मसला नहीं है. आपको फ्री टूल है. यू कैन व्हेन यू देयर इज अवेलेबिलिटी सो व्हाई नॉट. क्योंकि अगर एक ही चीज से एट टाइम स्टूडेंट्स बोर हो जाते हैं टीचर्स बोर हो जाते हैं तो इट्स बेटर टू यू नो कम अप विद समथिंग न्यू. Okay, everyone, I guess I will move forward because we are running short on time. So I will just wrap this up quickly. इसके बाद ये there are certain online tools and resources जिनकी मैंने थोड़ी सी images वगैरह आपको साथ add कर दी हैं. I'll be sharing these presentations with you ताकि ये जो tool garage है ये सारा आपके पास आ जाए. You can explore this on your own later on as well. सबसे पहले we have ThingLink. This allows.
मैम अब स्क्रीन शेयर हो रही है, पहले नहीं हो रही थी आपकी. थैंक यू.
Okay, so ThingLink is again a tool which allows teachers and learners to easily create, collect and share interactive images and videos. This helps a lot with history students, geography students, even with the languages as well. Or you can have you can create, collect images, videos, and then you can explore areas which are relevant to your field. Newspaper Club is a very 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 good टूल. दिस इज अगेन, इसका एक पेड वर्जन भी है, एक फ्री वर्जन भी है, जिसमें बेसिकली एक न्यूज़पेपर की लेआउट बनती है एंड students and teacher they collaborate and then they come up with they create a newspaper या complete वो बनाते हैं अपने उसका informations का you can store them here. You can, even if you want to talk about especially जितने भी हमारे social sciences के students हैं, if teachers from social sciences they can use it for their current issues, or this is basically एक sense of वो भी होती है, आपको achievement भी होती है because you are creating your own newspapers, right? And then Socrative, it's a formative assessment tool. Very basic, very simple. You just simply have to, rather than taking quizzes या टेस्ट लेने की बजाय आप डायरेक्ट Socrative पे अपना क्विज बनाएं, बच्चों के साथ लिंक शेयर करें. What they will do is they'll attempt it there straightforward उसी जगह पे. If you can see answers जो हैं वो जो the wrong ones will be highlighted and the class score, all the like the complete class score will be there in front of you. It is very good and it's very helpful for the teachers rather than marking them manually, या फिर even if you're doing it using Excel और फिर sheets बनाना और results maintain करना. This is something जो आपको automated results दे देंगे, ठीक है? Storyboard is again, it's a public library to write and read. Somebody just told me that they are into they're teaching languages, तो उसके लिए ये बहुत अच्छा होता है. When I was studying linguistics, so we used to use this storyboard because इसमें आप ये you can have your writing skills are enhanced, your reading skills are enhanced, you also communicate with other people. Then learningapp.org, this is again, it's a very easy to use tool. A lot of activities, you can even create your lessons on learning apps, and you can again collaborate with the students as well. Word wall जो होता है, word wall पे basically this for this particular tool you can communicate with students from around the globe. और it's again the same, वही चीज़ है कि बहुत सारे features same होते हैं just with a little bit differences, ठीक है? Nearpod is something that I wanted you guys to explore, so I will take you to Nearpod. I'm going to copy the link here. And once everybody is on this page, web page, Nearpod, just let me know. उसके बाद हम इसकी activity शुरू करेंगे. This is one of the best tools. वो आपने अगर अपने lessons बनाने हैं, interactive बनाने हैं, class में quizzes लेने हैं, what do we do usually is कि हम ये, हमारा बहुत बड़ा misconception होता है कि अच्छा ये university के students हैं तो इनको बस lethargic सा, डल सा, बोर सा एक लेक्चर बना के प्रिपेयर करके पढ़ा के चले जाओ. इट्स नॉट द केस. स्टूडेंट्स फ्रॉम डिफरेंट एज ग्रुप्स, कोई भी नई चीज जो होगी दैट विल अट्रैक्ट देम. इट्स नॉट के सिर्फ एक चीज पे अगर इफ यू आर गोइंग टू स्टिक टू दैट वन थिंग और वो उसी तरह से आप उसको चलाते रहें, that's not the case. Now please tell me everybody, are you on this web page, Nearpod?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How many of you know Nearpod in like already? किसी को पता है? Do you use that in the class? नहीं. Okay. आपने करना क्या है? This is again 2 versions हैं आपके पास, पेड भी है, फ्री भी है. मेजरली काम आपके फ्री वर्जन पे हो जाते हैं तो आपको पेड लेने की कोई खास जरूरत नहीं है. Now you need to decide your role. आपका रोल क्या है? Are you a teacher? Are you a student? If you are a teacher, you're going to log in या sign up करेंगे. I'll be logging in with my Microsoft account. आप अपना जो भी existing इस टाइम आपकी devices पे account आपका open है उसके साथ sign up कर लें, क्योंकि मैंने already account बनाया हुआ है तो मैंने log in किया है. You can sign up, ठीक है? And when this page will come on your screen, और उसके बाद हम विल मूव फॉरवर्ड. Once the majority is done signing up, please मुझे एक दफा बता दें कि we have done it, तो मैं आगे आपको बताना शुरू करूँ, because this is going to take a little more time क्योंकि इसमें activities बहुत ज़्यादा हैं. We have like a lot of options of creating lessons, creating quizzes, assessment, formative, summative, activities, बहुत कुछ है. साइन अप हो रहा है? No. This is okay, fine. Sana, you need to sign it up with your. You can sign it up with your Gmail ID, Microsoft Teams जो अभी आप जिस अकाउंट से यूज कर रही हैं, इसी के साथ आप इसको कनेक्ट करके कर लें, तो आप you'll be able to join that. Okay, good. अब I'm just quickly going to show you कि मैंने एक छोटा सा lesson कल बनाया था, which is not a complete lesson. Basically, that was a video. Let's do that again. Agar for instance, if you want to do create your lesson, we'll click on the tab of create. अब create में आपके पास different options हैं, whether you want to create an activity, or you want to create a video, or you want to create a lesson. Even if you want to create a lesson, तो उसमें further आपके पास multiple options आएंगी, ठीक है? You can start using it as plain slides जैसे हम PowerPoint पे करते हैं. You can use slides जिसमें आपके पास option होगा audios और videos add करने का. You can simply add a video, then you can web content. इसमें आपके पास simulations add कर सकते हैं, sway है. Then अगर आपने activities add करनी है, open-ended questions हैं, matching pairs हैं, quizzes हैं, all of these you can add. Poll add कर सकते हैं within the lecture. अब मैं आपको एक छोटी सी activity बना के दिखाती हूँ. For example, आपने अपने students को कोई activity दिखानी है, लेकिन you want कि video देखने के साथ साथ उनकी formative assessment भी होती रहे. For example, we are working on Greek mythology. Just for the sake of example, आप अपनी video library में से from your phone, from your laptop, from your phone, जहाँ से भी आप use कर रहे हैं, वहाँ से आप अपनी video भी upload कर सकते हैं, and you can use this one as well. So let me show you. अब this is a video, ठीक है? I want to add any question at 1.29. आप यहाँ पे कोई open ended question add कर दें. For instance, we are going to add how useful this video was. Save the question. Then moving forward at the end, आप एक और ओपन एंडेड या पोल क्वेश्चन कुछ भी डाल सकते हैं. ओपन एंडेड ज्यादा बेहतर होते हैं कि आपको यू गेट टू नो अबाउट द स्टूडेंट्स रिस्पॉन्सेज far better than you use the same strategy. You have saved this. Now once you save it,
जब आप क्वेश्चन ऐड कर रही हैं तो आपने क्लिक किस चीज को किया ऐड करने के लिए क्वेश्चन?
add an activity. वो नीचे आपके पास ऑप्शन आता है, मैं आपको दोबारा दिखाती हूँ. Add an activity, और उसको जिस मिनट पे आपने ऐड करना है ना वीडियो के, जिस लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल 4 मिनट की वीडियो है, यू वांट टू, तो आपको वहां पे लेके जाना पड़ेगा अपना कर्सर, ठीक है? फॉर एग्जांपल मुझे अगर यहाँ पे कुछ ऐड करना है 2.34 पे, तो मैं कर्सर यहाँ पे रख के करूंगी. अब जब मैं ये लेसन स्टार्ट कर रही हूँ ना, चला रही हूँ, अब देखें
जी मैम,
So once the student is watching all this and they reach this point, तो उनके पास यहाँ पे आके क्वेश्चन आ जाएगा.
क्वेश्चन आ जाएगा. ठीक हो गया. थैंक यू सो
और
मच.
वहां पे आके जहाँ पे क्वेश्चन आएगा ना, आपकी वीडियो रुक जाएगी ऑटोमेटिकली. द स्टूडेंट, अभी मैं तो बिकॉज आई एम यूजिंग द टीचर्स ऐप, तो मुझे टीचर्स व्यू में मैं एडिट कर सकती हूँ. द स्टूडेंट विल सी अ बॉक्स हियर और उनको वहीं पे अपना आंसर टाइप करना होगा. दे कैन नॉट मूव फॉरवर्ड, आगे नहीं जा सकते जब तक वो यहाँ पे आंसर टाइप नहीं कर लेते. ठीक है.
ठीक है. थैंक यू सो मच.
नो वरीज. उसके अलावा इफ यू वांट टू डिजाइन एक्टिविटीज, अच्छा इसमें सबसे अच्छी चीज ये होती है कि यूजुअली हमें ऑनलाइन क्लासेस में चीटिंग और इन चीजों का बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम होता है कि ऐड सकते हैं. द कनेक्शन वाज इंटरप्टेड. Can you see me? Okay. तो हम क्या करेंगे? We'll go back to Nearpod. मैं ये कोई क्विज अगर ऐड कर रही हूँ, तो क्विज में मेरे पास टाइमर का ऑप्शन है. इफ यू सी ऑन टॉप राइट कॉर्नर, यू सी देयर इज अ ऑप्शन ऑफ टाइमर. फॉर एग्जांपल मुझे 30 सेकेंड्स का टाइमर लगाना है for each question. So the student will only have the option to attempt the question in 30 seconds. How useful this activity was. अब ये तो वैसे क्वेश्चन उसमें नहीं आ सकता क्योंकि इसमें आपने ये करना होता है कि the right answer you will click to that right answer.
एक्सक्यूज मी मैम, मुझे भी स्क्रीन नजर नहीं आ रहा. मुझे लगता है बाकी भी लोगों को शायद नजर नहीं आ रहा. आपका स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं है या स्टॉप हो गया. आपकी तस्वीर आ रही है लेकिन स्क्रीन रुका हुआ है.
जी, we can't see anything. वो टाइमर की आप बात कर सकते
I'll reshare the screen. ठीक है, मैं एक दफा इसको स्टॉप करके दोबारा शेयर करती हूँ. ओके. Can you see the screen now?
अभी तक नहीं मैम.
नहीं. ठीक है. Is it because of the internet maybe? No, it's corporate office. Okay. Once again, screen.
Oh, it's visible.
Is it?
It's done.
Okay, can you see the Nearpod page, right?
नहीं मैम,
मुझे तो नजर नहीं आ रहा.
यहाँ एस स्पोर्ट के नाम से कोई एक ब्लिंक कर रहा है. जी आ गया मैम.
अब आ जाएगा. ठीक है.
It's okay.
ओके. अब ये देखें, यहाँ से ना ऊपर मैंने 0.30 जिधर लिखा हुआ है, इधर टाइमर का ऑप्शन था जहाँ से मैंने टाइमर ऐड किया था. आई कैन ऐड इमेज.
मैम स्टार्ट से पहले बताएं क्विज में कहाँ से.
एक सेकंड, वन बाय वन. जी,
एक दो स्टेप पहले जाइएगा because the screen was disconnected at an earlier stage.
नो वरीज. जहाँ पे भी स्क्रीन रुके आप प्लीज मुझे बता दें ताकि मैं फौरन से वो चेंज कर लूं. अभी भी मेरा ख्याल है एक दो स्टेप पीछे नहीं गया. मैं तो जा चुकी हूँ पीछे, लेकिन या
वीडियो के बाद जो था वो क्वेश्चन जब आपने ऐड किया वीडियो में और उसके बाद वी डोंट नो वो स्क्रीन स्टक अप हुआ था।
अब क्रिएट वाले ऑप्शन पे मैं आई हूँ। आई एम गोइंग टू क्रिएट द लेसन। कैन यू गाइस सी दैट? नहीं?
यस
Yes, ma'am.
ओके ग्रेट। क्रिएट पे जाके ऐड कंटेंट एंड एक्टिविटीज करेंगे आप। यहाँ पे एक्टिविटीज में फॉर एग्जांपल कुछ लोगों को मेरा ख्याल है नजर आ रहा है, कुछ को नहीं नजर आ रहा होगा क्योंकि some of them are still. Is it fine? Like, can the majority see whatever I'm doing?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
it's
Yes,
visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
ठीक है, तो ये क्विज पे हम जाके क्लिक करेंगे। ठीक है, ओके। अब क्विज पे यहाँ पे आपने जो भी सवाल लिखना है, फॉर इंस्टेंस आई एम जस्ट गोइंग टू टाइप इट लाइक, ओके आई विल टाइप इट, हाउ यूजफुल द एक्टिविटी वाज। और मूविंग ऑन मैं ऑप्शन दे देती हूँ 10%।
आई थिंक स्क्रीन जो है फिर स्टक अप हुआ है, और एटलीस्ट फॉर मी इट्स लाइक दैट।
So same here, sir.
Yeah, it's stuck again. जी.
It's stuck again. Okay.
इस पे क्लिक ही नहीं हो रहा वो।
दोबारा से स्क्रीन स्टक ऑफ हो गई है।
एक्टिविटीज मैच पेयर
ठीक है, ठीक है, I'll do that. एक सेकंड।
बेटा और कोई फ्रूट है खाने के लिए? एक एप्पल और दे दो मुझे। चुप, मुझे एप्पल दो वहां से, जल्दी करो, मेरा लेक्चर चल रहा है, मुझे भी डिस्टर्ब नहीं करो। आवाज ही नहीं आ रही। मैम आवाज नहीं आ रही।
Mic. Miss Maida, please mute your mic.
मैम मुझे आवाज नहीं आ रही आपकी।
इट्स ओके, आई वाज डिस्कनेक्टेड। मैं अभी दोबारा से स्क्रीन जो है वो अपनी रीशेयर करूंगी। ठीक है, आप एम आई स्टिल म्यूट? नो,
नहीं अब आ रही है।
ठीक है। ओके जी, क्योंकि वो मेरा ख्याल है थोड़ा कनेक्टिविटी इशू था जिसकी वजह से प्रॉब्लम हो रहा था। अब कैन यू गाइस सी द स्क्रीन?
Not yet.
This is this happening?
Not
Because...
yet, man.
Okay. Let's just wait for a moment.
Has anyone logged into Nearpod?
Yeah. अगर किसी का आप लोगों में से किसी की स्क्रीन शेयर कर दें जिसने लॉग इन किया है एयरपोर्ट पे, एंड आई जस्ट कीप ऑन टेलिंग यू गाइस कि किस जगह पे क्लिक करना है एग्जैक्टली। या आई कैन सी दैट यू शेयरिंग द स्क्रीनशॉट। मुझे नजर आ रहा है कि वो मेरी स्क्रीन नहीं शेयर हो रही है। आई डोंट नो फॉर व्हाट गुड रीजन। कैन एनीबडी प्लीज शेयर देयर स्क्रीन? आप लोगों में से कोई कर सकता है? Oh, ma'am, you can do that, right?
Let me try.
I'm not a robot. Just give me 2-3 minutes. Yeah.
Screen share now. आपकी screen share हो रही है।
मेरी स्क्रीन शेयर हो रही है अब?
This is your screen, right?
या ये बहुत स्लो है, मैंने तो खत्म कर दी हुई है स्क्रीन अपनी. Can you guys see any screen? मेरी स्क्रीन या किसी और की स्क्रीन नजर आ रही है
Yes,
आपको अपनी
yes,
screen?
yes. One screen
जी
is
एक
there.
स्क्रीन नजर आ रही है अभी.
जी.
No, this is
मैम
not
मैंने
mine.
शेयर की, आई डोंट नो कि मैंने की है तो शायद मैंने मेरी शेयर हो रही हो. मायदा
आपकी ही है
मिस
मेरा.
मायदा की स्क्रीन नजर आ रही है हमें.
या ठीक है, ठीक है मायदा आप. But the problem is that I cannot see your screen. Okay, Maida, what you can do is आप ऊपर बिल्कुल टॉप पे जाए, क्रिएट पे.
दिस वन
जी से कर लें, या ऊपर टॉप पे जहाँ पे क्विक लॉन्च और क्रिएट है ना, वहां से भी कर सकते हो. लेसन, क्लिक ऑन लेसन. ऐड एक्टिविटी करें. एक्टिविटी में स्क्रॉल डाउन करें, इसको नीचे जाए. स्क्रॉल फॉर मोर. Yes. Now you can click on quiz. The fourth option. I can't see your screen still. Okay. अब देखें यहाँ पे you can add a question और उसके बाद आप उसके multiple options दे सकते हैं. आपको 2 options हैं. अगर आप नीचे add question करेंगे तो 2 से ज़्यादा options भी add कर सकते हैं. Just type any question here, like what is the best strategy? What is the best strategy maybe? Just write what is the best strategy. Option A कर दें, B कर दें.
ऑप्शन ए,
यहाँ पे A लिखते हैं या दूसरे वाले ऑप्शन में B लिखते हैं. ठीक है. If you want to add another option, add answer करके C भी कर दें.
You can add as much detail as you like.
As you like, exactly. And then you can add timer on the question as well. Timer add करें ऊपर top right corner.
ओके.
Just give it 30 seconds maybe. Minutes में जाए ही नहीं आप. 30 seconds. Add. And then you can save this activity. ठीक है. और क्वेश्चंस अगर आपने करने होंगे तो एक दफा इसको सेव करेंगे, फिर और ऐड करेंगे. ठीक है.
सेव फ्रॉम वेयर?
It's just at the
okay
corner of the screen.
And I can keep adding any more questions that you like.
Yeah.
As many as you
Please
want.
complete the required fields below.
Which field?
Over scroll करें. What's missing? Oh, you have to select a correct answer.
Oh yeah, sorry, I just forgot about that. Okay, so now whichever you think is the right answer, for example, B is the right answer. Click on that, it will turn green. अब वो बच्चों को green नहीं नजर आएगा. They'll have 30 seconds to attempt it. आपने already save कर दिया right answer. If they'll attempt the wrong one, तो वो score generate हो जाता है students के लिए. तो जितना सही आंसर्स जाते जाएंगे उनका स्कोर रेज होता जाएगा, जितने गलत आंसर्स जाएंगे उतना उनका स्कोर कम हो जाएगा. ठीक है. सेव एंड एग्जिट कर दें. नाउ डू सेव एंड एग्जिट. अभी आपने सेव रखा है, इसमें आप फर्दर और क्वेश्चंस ऐड कर सकते हैं. वंस यू सेव एंड एग्जिट, See, this is your activity. ठीक है. इसको आप शेयर कर सकते हैं with your students. Either आप उसको अगर the students have, if the students have airport की IDs, तो what you can do is you can share the code, automatic code generate हो जाएगा. अगर Nearport की ID students की नहीं है तो just the way I shared the link with you, आप link उनके साथ share कर सकती हैं and that will take them to the same place. ठीक है?
Well done, Maida. Good tutorial. Thank you. Right.
Okay. Maida, you can stop sharing your screen. I had... Yeah. Do you think that we should show Edmodo? बहुत time हो गया तो वो तो वैसे ही बहुत लंबा है.
True.
So it's just like
After a Edmodo for reference, then it's a very quick one. Take 2 minutes and
Take
show them that there's a tool for Edmodo.
Okay.
Okay. So where are we? Okay. So you can see the screen being shared.
I still cannot, but yes, I guess they can. Just
Okay. So this was the last slide that we covered.
Nearport, and then we have Edmodo. Can you just like open Edmodo? Edmodo is basically just, I would say it in a very informal way कि पढ़ा लिखा Facebook वाली चीज़ है आपके लिए. Facebook वाला interface है Edmodo का. It's completely like Facebook. You just have a lot of options for interactive sessions with the students. आप groups बना सकते हैं, chats कर सकते हैं, you can post on your wall, you can even yeah, so this is Edmodo basically. Just it's exactly the same, and even the feed में जाके आपने says that on Facebook you get a lot of irrelevant posts. बहुत irrelevant चीजें मिलती हैं. यहाँ पे आप अपनी classes schedule कर सकते हैं, calendar होता है, class schedule करने की options होती हैं, सब कुछ होता है. And moreover, it's like you'll get the relevant. For example, if I'm a psychology student or a geography or a history student, I will definitely connect with all the same people from the globe, around the globe, और वो मेरे उसमें learning experience में enhance करता जाएगा automatically. This will add on to my learning experience. ठीक है? So we are very short on time. I really wanted to show all of this. Edmodo is a very good, rather than contacting your students and making WhatsApp groups, this is one of the best channel. आप इसकी ऐप भी कर सकते हैं फोन में, just like Facebook, LinkedIn, किसी भी तरह जैसे एप्स होती हैं. Edmodo की ऐप पे you can chat with your students. आप ग्रुप में रहते हैं और एक बड़ा फॉर्मल एनवायरनमेंट रहता है. जो बहुत ज्यादा एक सवाल होता है ना कि स्टूडेंट पर्सनल चीजें शेयर करना शुरू कर दें. दिस इज वेरी फॉर्मल प्लेटफॉर्म. इसमें ये वाला ऑलरेडी ये होता है कि देयर आर different your resources by teachers, for teachers, resources by students, for students, and a lot of the like it's just,
so it's interactive learning at its best, and it's a social platform.
Yeah. So that's it. I'm sorry I cannot take you through this because definitely we are very short on
another day
time.
we can have a little bit of interaction just on practicing tutorials, how to use the edtech tools that we've talked about today. But I hope this is a start. This will actually make you curious about all of these tools that Maheen has mentioned today. And I'm hoping that most of you will at least be very intrigued by what these tools are and how they can actually help your virtual classrooms. So, Maheen, anything else you'd like to add before we go
No,
to the
thank
next
you
section?
so much, and I hope that this has added some value to your knowledge. Or I would really request कि please Edmodo and Nearport sorry. Okay, explore it on your own. लाजमी आज इसको Nearport को आप खोल के देखें. आप you'll learn it on your own. मतलब ये this basically tells you
Very
step by
intuitive. It's very intuitive. All of these tools are very intuitive. And police say automatically trial and error will start करेंगे तो you'll start enjoying what the features are.
And even for Padlet, I would really suggest that use the links in your classrooms tomorrow. Ask them to post anything, write anything, because that and you're going to see the difference in student engagement, in terms of student engagement. Thank you so much. This was all from my side. I'll now hand it over to ma'am, and if there's any question you can ask at the end of the class. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Right, so we are now at the last section of our training program. So the fourth part that we'll cover today is student engagement. Okay, can I have a quick yes from everybody? They can see the screen from this. We are back to the slideshow.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Right, so this is again a very key component क्योंकि physical classroom में आपके पास there are हम कल बात कर रहे थे in terms of learning की and the stimulus जो आता है आपको एक किसी physical stimulus में you have audio stimulus and you have visual stimulus as well. The same thing happens in a physical classroom. आपके पास audio और video जो है वो दोनों चीजें आपके सामने हैं in a three-dimensional paradigm. In a virtual classroom, you don't have that. You cannot pick up on every single learner's visual cues because right now we have about, we had about 100 people. I think today there's about 80 people. I cannot look at all of you at the same time in a virtual environment. So that's a big disadvantage. But how do I work to make sure that this disadvantage जो है वो मेरी class को ineffective नहीं कर रहा है? That's where virtual classrooms come in. Okay. So generally what we do is you ask students to turn on their computer or their whatever digital device, whether it's a mobile or a tablet, and they check into the class session, but they find it to be very boring. I think we might have some of you here today, and then you drop out, and you've lost them. But how many of you actually, did we mention Netflix? So they're actually looking at the screen and watching a Netflix TV show while they're in class. A lot of time that happens. So your class has to be engaging. It doesn't have to go into entertainment because of course there's a learning objective there. But how many times have we experienced this? I at least have, I've had a bigger cohort. I've had about 140 students at one time for a training session, actually for a classroom session for an undergraduate program. And half of them were there in the live session, but every time I started speaking, they were not engaging. So if I called them out by name randomly, after 140 मेरे पास बहुत choices थी, तो 4, 5, 6 के मैंने नाम लिए randomly and they never replied, which means they're there, present in the classroom, but they're not joining. There's somebody in the lobby who's cooking. Okay. So what do we do with that? How do we counter this? So successful learning का मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप सिर्फ information share कर रहे हैं. It's a lot more, it goes a lot more beyond than passive receipt of your processed information. Okay. It's about attention and focus. Now, how do we do that? हमने कल थोड़ी सी बात की थी about a few things. कि आपकी learning environment आप कैसे create करेंगे, learning resources कैसे create करेंगे. So all of this ties in together. It builds into the concept of how you have structured your content, what is the objective of your content, and how does it tie in with the learner's perception. Okay? So after communication is important, the assignment and exercise that you're focusing on. So I think the two outcomes from this training that I would want to achieve as a trainer with Maheen and myself, what we would want to merit as a success would be that you have been intrigued by some edtech tools. And the second one is that you've started thinking about your lesson planning in a different way. Okay. So that's that. If that is the trigger that we have actually been able to convey to you, that'll be the success of this 2-day session. आपने जब assignment अपनी setup की for a virtual classroom, for an e-learning classroom, whether it's synchronous or asynchronous. I hope everybody is familiar with the term synchronous is कि जैसे अभी आप लोग live एक साथ सब available हैं. Asynchronous would be that you have this is a recording and maybe about 10 of you didn't join in time and you have the recording to listen to later on in your own time. So that would be asynchronous learning, जहाँ पे आप अलग-अलग pace पे काम कर रहे हैं. So the 4 things that are very important for an online instructor is your dialogue, involvement, support, and then your control of the classroom. Okay. On the students' end, आपके पास क्या चीजें हैं जो होनी चाहिए? You should have your students' behavioral engagement, referring to the example of switching to Netflix जब class हो रही है. Your cognitive engagement, that means what you're saying is actually being perceived by them. There are schemas being built, there are connections that they are building up on their existing knowledge or they're starting to build new knowledge. And then the emotional engagement. The emotional engagement is also triggered from the outcomes. So virtual learning में शायद physical में हमें इतनी ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ती कि हम task outcome जो है वो पहले define कर दें. In a virtual environment, it is very, very important I'll refer to the same thing like we did yesterday. So at the very beginning, I had to define for you exactly what you'll be able to do and what we'll be covering and what is the outcome of the training session that we've had these past 2 days. If you didn't know that, you probably will not be curious enough. So it needs to be very explicitly defined हर learner के लिए बहुत clearly, बहुत specifically कि आप, let's suppose we're studying an economic theory, okay, market trends or financial portfolios. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to understand what a financial portfolio is. Absolute clarity, right? And if I know that, then I know, okay, this is what I'm going to learn, and this is what my target is going to be. Okay. So all of these lead to your online engagement. Okay, this is a statistic that I read very recently, so I took a note somewhere, and there's about 245 juniors and seniors in a college, which means undergrad and postgraduate students. This is from James Madison University, US. Okay, and this was last year during the pandemic, where everybody was teaching online. So unse ye sawal hua ki what did you like least about your learning experience? Okay, so the top response was boring. This is a one simple word. Out of those 445 students, I think about 70 to 80% of them, I think there was 76% shed. Not passionate, too much lecture, teaching at you instead of to you. This is a common mistake that a lot of us make at times. And you read off of PowerPoint slides. Okay, so usme aur koi cheez addition nahi ho rahi. Okay. I'll get your views about our teaching. This is a slide as well. This is a PowerPoint deck. There's been about, I think, 40 odd slides on a daily basis. But in 90 minutes, have you actually just focused on the slides, or has there been other interaction? Okay. And then the second most common response, boring ke baad, the second category on a device ki thi, that was ignoring questions. So that is something which is a very, very big don't for a virtual classroom. Please never ignore any question that comes from any student. I know there are time constraints at times. आपके पास lesson time इतना कम हो जाता है. But if the only thing you can do is 5 seconds of a response and say, okay, can you put this in a chat box and I will get back to you. Or we'll start the next session with answers to this question, if it's relevant and if it merits a response. I gave a training recently, जहाँ पे मुझसे ये भी सवाल हुआ था. I'm just remembering that I'm going a little bit off topic. I had a training in a different institute a few months ago, and so the question was, how do we control irrelevant questions? And what do I do? कि वो एक बच्चा है, वो बात करते करते बिल्कुल divert हो गया है, वो बिल्कुल कोई और बात कर रहा है. How do I cater to that? मैं जवाब नहीं दूंगा तो that means I'm ignoring him. That means I'm not considering him. But उसका सवाल तो relevant ही नहीं है. So I had to explain, we'll go back to the learner types. I can understand that very well because personally my brain works like that. आप मुझसे एक बात करेंगे, I will connect it to 3 different things, 3 different steps and jump to the 4th one, and I will voice out loud will be the 4th point. And you don't know what my brain has processed, how I have come to that 4th point, and for you the perception will be ये तो off topic बात हो रही है. ये बात तो इस टॉपिक के साथ, इस चैप्टर के साथ, इस मॉड्यूल के साथ, इस एग्जाम के साथ relevant ही नहीं है. So keep into account, give your students, your learners the benefit of doubt. They do not think exactly the way that we do. I might not think the same way as you do. Right now, I'm talking about a study, and some of you might be thinking about some of the research that you've thought of or you've read पिछले 1-2 महीने में, and you might be coming up with a question that is relevant to that research, because इस पोल ने आपको या इस stats ने आपको जो है वो trigger कर दिया into thinking something else as well. Okay. So moving forward, education with participation. जो हमारा purpose होता है as an online instructor, वो ultimately ये है कि आपका student engaged है, participate कर रहा है. Okay. And especially in a remote online setting, they don't know you face to face. अभी तो बहुत सारा advantage ये था कि these learners had at some point before the pandemic, आपके साथ उनकी interaction थी physically. They knew you, they had a rapport with you, they had that bond with you physically. But I teach online. I've been teaching online for about a decade, starting from my work in the UK. Never met the students. The 140 students जिनकी मैं बात कर रही हूँ, they are all global learners based in about 40 different countries. I will never meet them physically. I have no physical interaction with them. How do I engage them? So there's a diagram here that you can see, and it talks about the engagement levels. Okay. So if you look at that, the first stage is your rebellion, जहाँ पे attention divert, commitment नहीं है. उसके बाद there's some retreatism, जहाँ पे there is still no attention, no commitment. Then you have ritual compliance, मजबूरी है, okay? जहाँ पे there is low attention, there's low commitment. Then you have strategic compliance, high level of attention, they're listening to you, but commitment उस तरह नहीं है. And then you have your final engagement at the top of the pyramid, which is high attention, high commitment. So अब as an instructor, हमारी task ये है कि हम identify करें within the classroom, okay, where is your learner standing? And I know, once again, I understand that if you have 50 people in the classroom, it becomes a difficult task. But you can start off with talking to them, spend 10 minutes on this and see who stands where. किस बच्चे की कितनी engagement आपको नजर आ रही है, you can always tell. Like I said, 100 लोग हैं, उसमें से मैंने 5 लोगों का नाम लिया, random picking and choosing every 10th, 5th learner, and if they didn't respond, I know, and then I have at least a quantitative idea. At least 10, 12, 20 बच्चे इसमें से बिल्कुल ही they have logged in, they're there physically showing up in the session, but they're nowhere near their devices, then they don't have the audio turned on, they're not listening to me. What do I do with them the next time around? How do I follow up with them? So one-to-one follow-up is also important. And that actually links it back to the concept जो कल माहीन explained किया था about flipped classrooms. If you have information shared beforehand, if you communicate it in a variety of formats, it will become easier for the learner to be engaged. We're living in an information overload age. But how does that work to our advantage? अभी आपको demonstration में इसीलिए दिया some of the tools. These are, I think, just a very few common ones. जो हम दिन की बात कर रहे हैं. There's at least about maybe 20 more we could talk about if we had time. At least, I think, if Mahin would agree with that, there will be another 18, 20 tools जो कि हर discipline के subject के हिसाब से use हो सकते हैं. But within the domain that you have, you can use your PowerPoints, you can use your presentations, you can use videos, you can use your infographics, you have your quizzing apps, you have scenario-based, and all of these are tools. Okay, आपके पास whiteboard animations है, even Zoom पे जो है उन्होंने whiteboard feature बहुत अच्छा कर दिया. They've been improving it as we go along. आपके पास Teams में whiteboard feature है, you can write in real time and your students can follow you for subjects which require real-time problem solving, like maths and physics and chemistry and your any of these sciences which require work that needs to be shown to students step by step. आप एक maths की problem picture में लगा देंगे step by step, या आप उसको whiteboard पे solve करेंगे. It will have a world of a difference of an impact. The same way, like अभी माहिन ने आपको अगर screenshots लेके दिखा दिया होता कि आप use करना है, or we had one of you, Maida was very helpful and she gave a tutorial for us. What will retain in your working memory? The tutorial will definitely have an impact, much better than a screenshot, how to document.
We have the full presentation of Edmodo screenshots and we didn't share that.
Yes, कल हम ये बात कर रहे थे कि एक document आपको हाँ वैसे supplementary, yes, maybe if I send you another one, step by step walk through कि आपने पहले screen पे जाना है फिर screen पे जाना है, so that you can access it when you feel like it. You don't have to look at the live video every time. Supplement करने के लिए that can be a good document. Okay, so it's about how you utilize the tools that you have, the content that you have, how creative can you become. Okay. So again, this was a quote I read somewhere. So we all like shiny, colorful, moving objects, and images and videos can take you to the bottom of the ocean or send you blasting through outer space. So they have a very, very wide scope. How you use them is entirely up to you. Okay. And the other thing that's more is that aapne at every stage, you have to encourage your learner to opinion, come back to you. Okay. The other things that we look at when making sure कि हमारा learner engaged है, it's about the stimulus. So we've talked about it. मैंने start even के इसी point से किया था कि आपके पास face-to-face वाला stimulus नहीं है. You don't have gestures, looks, and body language to pick up on. But that should not become a roadblock to your teaching. A different way. The other thing that you need to figure out is कि आपकी duration कैसी है. Shorter classes, attention spans with everybody now, including ourselves, are very, very limited. आपके पास let's suppose अगर हम 90 minutes में हम एक ही बात करते रहते और एक ही speed पे बात करते रहते, which is one more reason that I had a 90-minute session, I will always split it up with either one more person, 2 different trainers, variety of pace, variety of style, and again chunking different topics together. So आप माहीन के साथ जो आपकी rapport develop हुई है उससे आप tools याद रहेंगे. जो मेरे साथ आपकी rapport develop हो रही है उससे आपको वो content याद रहेगा जो मैं deliver कर रही हूँ. You'll relate it with the person. Okay. The other thing is breakout sessions are important. When the pandemic started, a lot of teachers came back to us and said, okay, breakout rooms हैं, Zooms में भी हैं, but they're a waste of time. Students कुछ करते नहीं हैं उसमें जाके. And that's not true. It's again how you handle that breakout. What task do you for them? What is the purpose of that breakout room? And then again, utilize the strength of group work on those breakout rooms. Okay. Bundle together the students that you know, उनमें से 2-4 will take the lead. Sorry, you want to say something? Okay, is that or is that a live protest that somebody is attending? आपने मुझे म्यूट कर दिया आपने फिर I think. वो आप एक सेकंड. I think I'm fine. Okay. Okay. I've just muted him. Okay. Okay. So I'm curious about live protest going on somewhere that somebody's attending. I really hope not.
Protest in a what campus?
Sorry, protest where?
Throughout the campuses of.
ये आपकी I hope university में नहीं हो रहा है.
जी मैडम यूनिवर्सिटी में ही हो रहा है.
Oh, that was okay.
ComScience University, all 7 campuses on protest.
Oh, can I ask why? What are they protesting?
For DRA, government announced but they didn't grant from 1 year.
Okay. Right. Not government. I think there'll be a time that the majority of Pakistan is protesting against the government at this moment. Okay, so coming back after that slight diversion. So I hope it's a peaceful protest. So okay. Instructor जो online आता है उसका role जो है it has to be a facilitator as opposed to a presenter. So these are 2 different terms. Presenter वो होगा जो आपको सिर्फ information दे रहा हो, ठीक है? Who's just providing the input. A facilitator is a person जो आपकी learning को improve करेगा. Okay? And again, this is another research, very recent, 2019 to 2021. Again, exactly the pandemic years. 76% of your higher education students used mobile devices to complete course-related activities. Now, what does this make us think about? कि आपका जो है, it needs to be user-friendly. आपका learner हर बैठ के classroom, table, desks scenario में काम नहीं करेगा in an online environment. Okay? You need to be able to adapt your tasks, your teaching resources, and your materials in a way कि उसके लिए वो हर platform पे friendly हो. Okay? So the thing that we take into consideration is that we test drive everything. Okay? So I'll again give my own example. I've made sure I've ran it on my phone as well, that maybe some of you are not available in your office or in your university or taking it from home, and you would rather actually listen to it while you're doing other things maybe and on your phone. And it should work in the exact same format. So last night I ran it through my phone a couple of nights ago as well to make sure that it runs exactly the same way. Okay. So facilitator का role हम किस तरह लेते हैं? How do we deliver that role? You change words and phrases, you look at student confidence, you scaffold things. Scaffolding का मतलब हुए जैसे मैंने भी example दिया आपको nearpod का. आपने एक tutorial दे दिया, आपने एक video दे दी, आपने theory explain कर दी, then you reinforce that with a written document कि okay, key points ये हैं, detail ये है, अब इसको आप add on कर लें. So supplementary and complementary documents. And again, they should be available on your VLE. आपका Moodle है या I think do you use Moodle? I'm not sure. आप किस platform पे हैं? Moodle पे ही हैं? जो ComSats का VLE है, that's a Moodle platform. Somebody from the IT side of things would understand क्या original platform क्या. I think it's customized for the university, but most probably it's going to be Moodle. Okay, thank you.
Microsoft
so Moodle पे आपके पास right MS Teams and Moodle, right, absolutely. So Moodle Teams आपकी live teaching के लिए है and Moodle is your basically जहाँ पे students login करते हैं. So आपके Moodle is very user friendly as well. Moodle में इतनी capacity है, इतनी सारी चीजें हैं that you as an instructor आपके पास अगर अपने course के rights as an instructor, I would encourage you to try and experiment, add different activities. Moodle के अंदर भी आप quiz generate कर सकते हैं. Moodle के अंदर भी आप timed activities generate कर सकते हैं. And आप supplementary information दे सकते हैं. The main target of your lesson, the learning objective, and then added on to it maybe 3 different things. Not all 3 of them will be read by every single student, but some of them will definitely engage. And you can bulk them as, okay, this is additional reading. This is key reading. आपका सिर्फ, again, I will, without naming the university that I've looked at, उनका VLE मैंने देखा था एक lesson, BA की class, एक PowerPoint of about, I think about 86 slides, 1 घंटे का tutorial, and nothing else. I would chunk that into smaller pieces. Then I would add on essential reading tab. I would add on an additional reading tab, and I would say case study resources, yeah, a quiz or feedback on what you've read on the essential reading. So as I said in the beginning, आपकी classroom का resource, face-to-face का resource, or virtual classroom का resource will be 2 very separate things. Okay, explicit and implicit tasks is what we use. Like today, we had you do a little bit of engagement tasks. The same way, it's an explicit task and then an implicit task that you were shown how to do. Okay. Learner characteristics is a very important aspect. So, आपके macro ideas हैं, your curriculum, your instructional design, and the learning model. ये 3 चीजें हैं जो आपने, these should be your first step when thinking of developing an online lecture. What is my curriculum assigning me to do? What do I need the learner to do? Parameters क्या हैं? हम कितना क्या कहते हैं off topic हो सकते हैं? किस तरह हम scope maintain करेंगे? What is exactly that I want to do in this one lecture? I'm not talking about a semester. I'm not talking about a whole module. One lecture. How do I construct the components of this lecture? मैं कितनी include करूँ, मैं कितने animations डालूँ इसमें, मैं कितने hyperlinks दूँ जहाँ go to a different platform, change of pace कितना करूँ, और learning model कौन सा apply होगा. And again, looking at the learner styles that we talked about yesterday. So our responsibility is कि हम cognitive energy और emotional energy दोनों को target करें student की. Only then you can have an effective learner which is engaged. So emotional energy किस तरह होगी? That they are committed to it. So referring to the pyramid that I showed you, you have to have your high attention and from the learner. So sometimes, okay, I'm going to take another, I think we're going to spread over another, hopefully not more than 10 more minutes. I'll try and wrap this up. There's a couple of things just need to finish off today. So self-reflection, asking questions from yourself. How do I know that my students understood today's lesson? What evidence do I have that my students are achieving the targets? And how do I better engage them? Okay, authentic learner create करना है ना आपने rote memorization तो करानी नहीं है अब That's another thing that I would encourage if that's something that has been you've been facilitated towards thinking that way. Information तो सारी available है. आप मुझे business management की, let's say strategic leadership की theory पढ़ा रहे हैं. I can look up the theories. I can find about 1 million websites immediately, and they will give me. I can find about a couple of 100,000 papers as well. Accessible. What value are you adding to it for me? That is my core interest. ठीक है, टेक्स्ट बुक्स मुझे मिल जाएंगी, ई बुक्स मुझे मिल जाएंगी, ई लाइब्रेरी का एक्सेस मेरे पास है, papers and journals and publications का access मेरे पास immediately है, even if you just go with the free resources. I can find all of that information sitting at home. What is the instructor bringing in that I don't have? That is my learning capability. Are you training me to become a learner? हमने थोड़ी सी बात की थी क्लासरूम की, कि आपने इंफॉर्मेशन पहले प्रिपेयर करके available कर दी, and when you come to the live lecture you then build upon it and say, okay, this was already available to you a week ago, were you able to go through this, and now let's discuss. ये आप उनको टास्क ये कर दें, PowerPoint presentation, this is the video that you should watch, and on Monday we'll talk about this. Okay. The other thing that we talk about is your backward lesson design. Backward lesson design is कि आपने lesson plan करके objectives तक गए, आप other way around, you reverse engineer. Objectives के साथ, target के साथ अपना lesson plan align किया. Structure की बात की थी, I think Maheen referred to that as well. So your course learning outcomes, your instructional design, and then your content. It flows in this way for a virtual environment. In a physical, you can do it the other way around. You can do it the straightforward way. कि आपने अपना कोर्स प्लान कर लिया, फिर आपने उसको अडाप्ट कर लिया कि अच्छा एंड ऑफ द डे एग्जाम कैसे होगा, असेसमेंट कैसे होगी. इन अ वर्चुअल एनवायरनमेंट इट इज फ्लिप्ड, इट्स बैकवर्ड्स. और आपने लर्निंग आउटकम और पहले डिफाइन करनी है. फॉर अ स्टूडेंट दे नीड टू बी एबल टू, आई शुड बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड, ओके, इफ आई एम गोइंग टू टेक अ 6-month कोर्स इन बिजनेस इंटेलिजेंस, what will I be able to do at the end of it? Will I be able to do the 3, 4, 5 core things? And as and when you design, there should be a sequence of lessons. Okay? And it should not just be direct instruction, it should be cooperative learning. Right. So as teachers, as instructors, as facilitators, हमारी बहुत बड़ी response. Okay. There's a lot of focus because I've worked in the UK higher education system, so I can refer to that. I've not worked in Pakistan for very long. I've worked about 3 times longer than that in the UK. These 3 words are linked with every professional, regardless of the discipline that they're from, regardless of the background or the industry that they belong to. But for teachers, this is very, very, very important. CPD कहते हैं इसको, continuous professional development. Every month you need to be able to identify, what did I do? How many professional development activities I've actually undertaken. It can be literally just this training. So this is your CPD. You're working towards improving the skills you already have. So one more thing that I would think would be the success for our training would be that it triggers you into thinking about and reflecting on your own CPD. Talk to other online teachers. Peer-to-peer learning, वो उससे ज़्यादा valuable कोई चीज़ नहीं होती. Again, another study that I read ages ago. Every single learner at any point in their life, they learn 60 to 70% of their content from peers. The interaction. Today, when I talk to all of these higher educational academics, there's a that takes place, and it's a 2-way process. So look at what you can do to improve your own knowledge base, or maybe if you are motivated enough, if you have the energy enough, you can have a formal qualification in e-pedagogy. So there's 2 words. Pedagogy का लफ्ज़ हम इस्तेमाल करते हैं, the teaching design, and the other one is andragogy. Andragogy is teaching to adults. University teachers, even college teachers, they apply andragogy. So andragogy is adult learning, a brain that has actually understood how to connect concepts and ideas and think logically and systematically. उसके लिए हम andragogy का लफ्ज़ इस्तेमाल करते हैं, because they are able to get tangled into ideas and then apply those ideas in a social context, and then unke saath, then they are able to deduce a sense of them and then adapt them. Yeah. If I have had time and I would talk at least half of you to give your response about what the training was about, I'm going to get very different responses. Because for all of you, you will have understood it in your own context, in your own teaching environment's context, in the way that you will apply things. You may or may not have understood it exactly the way that I was sharing it. You might have constructed your own schemas based on this content. So involvement जो है वो सिर्फ उस सूरत में आपकी ज़्यादा होती है learner की when they feel that they belong to something or they're a part of something. So today, I believe because we are part of the same community, we're part of the teaching community, we already have this sort of familial rapport. Being an instructor and all of you being peers and colleagues that I would relate to, I would feel that we are working towards the same goal. I have knowledge of some tools and I'd like you to share them with you, and you have a lot of experience, and we can build up a lot of collective, interactive and collaborative learning. Okay. So before we sign off today, just a few things. So I'd like you to have a look at this. You'll have the video recording, but if you can, maybe screenshot it, take a note. This was the final attainment that we would want from this training for you. Thinking differently about your classroom management, which means planning and designing your lessons. You are going to teach for engagement, not coverage. 1 घंटा है मेरे पास और मैंने 1 घंटे है मेरे पास इस वीक में और मैंने ये टॉपिक कवर कर देना है बस. That should not be your motivation. What am I engaging the learner with? What are the key parts that I will cover that I to make sure that the learner understands? And be selective in what you do. Not everything has to be thrown at the learner in a virtual classroom. So design for participation and get your learners to think before, during, and after your learning. Empower your students, emphasize autonomy and engagement. Again, don't lecture at them, lecture to them, involve them, become a collaborative classroom. And most importantly, because it's an IT-based exercise that we conduct, everything, plan ahead and assume that everything will break, okay? And have an alternative solution to it. Yeah. Mahini and I deliver kar rahe the, we can actually be sitting in 2 different offices. She can be in her office and I can be in mine, but we made sure that we're in the same room so that if anything goes wrong, we are able to switch in and step up in the other's place. Okay, Mahini ki screen nahi share ho rahi thi, came up with a solution. Right? So with IT, with technology, with digital tools, assume that you will have issues, but overcome them. We've all heard पिछले 1-1.5 साल में ये बहुत सारी complaints थी, इंटरनेट नहीं चल रहा, वो नहीं हो रहा, स्क्रीन नहीं शेयर हो रही, वीडियो नहीं लैग हो रही है, स्टूडेंट्स बोर हो जाते हैं. Be prepared for that, preempt that, be proactive about it and say अच्छा ठीक है, in case मेरी वीडियो नहीं चली तो what else can I do? So जैसे कहते हैं ना, what's the word that you think on your feet, you improvise the word. So be improvising. Right, so the last thing that we're doing today is a very, very quick feedback. I am sharing the link with you in the. It's a Mentimeter poll again that we've done yesterday. I thought we'll not use any. We'll go back to the chat box. And there we go. Okay, so I've sent the Mentimeter link to you. If you click on this, you'll have 2 questions. Very quick poll about your learning and your takeaways from the training. Okay. Screen, and so you can see the question. Okay, so the first question is this. Oh, sorry, I think I have to go back to my presenter screen for this. Okay, cool. So you can see we're getting responses right now. This is the live response that we're getting at the moment. You can see it moving. It's a pie chart this time, not a bar graph. you can choose, you can select how to present this information. So if I wanted, I could show it as bars. I could show it as a donut. I could show it as dots. So we'll go back to the pie chart so we can have a look at the percentage as well. Okay, so the blue color represents who did not find it very useful, which is 0 to 3, about 4%. Then we have people who found it moderately useful, somewhere in the middle, which is 36% of you. And then, okay, it's still fluctuating, so I'll wait. How many responses do we have? Okay, so this is a engagement tool. Mentimeter, I think हमने नहीं शायद लिस्ट में रेफर किया, but we've shown it to you. It's a tool. Okay, so you can download your results here, save them. You can screenshot your results. You can talk about them later on. You can have an open-ended question as well. यहाँ पे, the type of question. Okay, so you can have a poll question. You can have a word. You can have open-ended questions. You can have a question-answer session. You can have scales. You can have a quiz competition. There's a variety of things that you can do with this. Again, very user-friendly, very straightforward. So I personally like this for polls. It's but nearport के polls भी जो है वो इसी तरह से real time में आप कर सकते हैं. Okay, so I think we're done. So we've got 55% of people who found training between 7 to 10 on a scale of 7 to 10, which is very useful. And then we've got about 56. Okay, 41% moderately useful and 4% that. Okay, if everybody's done, we can move on to the next question as well. Okay, so I'm going to download these results. Okay. And so there are no correct answers, otherwise you can add this option to show correct answers. Okay, we'll now go to the second question. So can you now see the second question? Mm-hmm. Can you move forward to the next one?
I did. It says please wait for the presenter to show.
Okay, I can share the link again. So that's the question that we'll be looking at. And which one of these would you be confident to implement within your e-classrooms? Actually, I'm going to remove Edmodo from here because maybe we haven't talked about it that much. So, okay. Mine, can you respond? Okay, good.
मैम सिर्फ एक ही क्वेश्चन का पोल आया है जिसका आंसर दे दिया हुआ है, दूसरे जो आपके अभी स्क्रीन पे क्वेश्चन शो हो रहे हैं ये नहीं आ रहा पोल में. यस मैम, स्टिल अभी तक वही वाला पिछला क्वेश्चन शो हो रहा है.
Okay. Bear with me 1 second. Let me figure it out because I can see this. Again, I'm going to create a question with you live here, Nearport, Padlet. And I'm going to add another option, which is your backward design. Any other tools? No. You're able to, okay, so you can reset results. This slide. There you go. Okay, so the first thing that I shared, if you click on the link again, it should take you back to this question. Okay, wonderful. Report responses. Cool. Okay, so Neopod is popular. Good.
Yeah.
And Mentimeter as well. That's good. Neopod is mostly a one-stop shop for a lot of things.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to roam around between different tools.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically lecture, activities, everything.
Nearpod is user friendly. Its interface is very nice and you can easily pick it.
Absolutely, yes. And I really hope that you'll start using it and then actually access a lot more features than we've been able to show you in this limited time.
Yes, inshallah.
Okay, so I think we have about 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, about 90% people have responded, nearly more than 90%. Okay, so 33%, Neopod is the winner with about 32%, and we've got 24% people who think Mentimeter is useful. We've got another 22% who think Padlet, and then backward design, 5%. Okay, so flip design as well. I would encourage you, that is actually one of the very key aspects of designing your lesson to align your learning outcomes with your lesson plan, the other way around. So flipped lesson and backward lesson design is what will facilitate you to engage your learner first and then adapt your instructional design and teaching to that. Okay, right, so I've taken 17 minutes beyond the time that was allocated to us.
Requesting that please end it
Okay, right.
around 11:50. If there's any questions, take that.
Okay. Right. Okay. Any last questions? Any comments from anybody? And we'll just end it at 11:50. We'll have to.
Madam, please.
Sorry, Usman, Khalid. Sorry, you're not very audible.
Ma'am, can you please share slides with us?
I will. I was waiting to finish session because we wanted to actually just cover all of these things. I will have the slides sent out to you. Okay. I've been added to the WhatsApp group, so I'll email them to your administrator as well. Okay. Both yesterday's and today's session, we'll share the slides with you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Right. Okay. Thank you all for joining. And I hope we'll see you again some other day, and maybe possibly if you, I believe you're all from different cities at the moment, but if ComStats decides to have you all together, we'll probably try and get hold of you in a physical session as well. But in the meantime, I hope that this has brought some intrigue to your teaching and learning in a virtual environment. And best of luck. Thank you so much for joining. Take care.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, on Faika.
Ji Faika.
Thank you, ma'am, for spending time and sharing your knowledge and expertise with us. And dear participants, we appreciate your presence, active participation, and positive contribution in the workshop, and hope you would apply the knowledge gained and skills learned here at your respective workplaces. And we have sent a message in a group. We are organizing another workshop on assessment for online learning on March 15th. If you want to join, kindly register yourself before March 7th. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. Thank you.